It's the 25th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars this year, and to celebrate the occasion, LEGO have created 8 exclusive minifigures they otherwise never would have had the chance to, and included them in these sets. I love this idea, but like most things, I don't think they were perfect, and so in this video I'm going to run through what I would have done for these anniversary figures, including fixes, substitutions, and even some extra figures. But before I get into who I would add or remove from this list, let's start off by looking at the figures LEGO made that I would have kept, and just fixed them up a bit. Darth Malak is basically perfect down as far as his waist print. At a stretch, you can maybe give him printed arms to continue that texture from his torso, but I don't really blame them for not doing that. I do think this character should have had dual molded legs though, which I think would have looked so much better, especially since they already have this random black line across his shins that allude to his boots. I also really think this is a figure that should have had a physical waist cape instead of a printed one, because, well, I mean, it's just better in general, but also because there are a good few depictions of the character with pure red legs, and including the physical waist cape would allow for that look too, while also giving his dual molded legs some more room to breathe and that there wouldn't be too much black printed in that area. This is also very much a display only minifigure meant to stand upright on their stand, so I don't see any proper reason to not have done it this way. Fives is a minifigure that has been heavily criticized pretty much since he initially leaked, so I won't harp on him too long, especially since I think this figure is pretty solid for the most part. I'd of course fix his god-awful helmet printing though, because that is just inexcusably sloppy no matter which way you look at it. I'd also shrink the size of his ammo pouch because I think it covers way too much of that blue triangle print on his chest. In an ideal world, I think this character should have had dual molded legs too, with the bottom half being a dark bluish grey to replicate his boot colors, and you could just print the white of his boots with his foot printing to get that detail in there. Failing that, like if LEGO didn't want to do dual molded legs, I actually think they could have gotten away with making his legs entirely dark bluish grey, with the white details of his knees and thighs just printed on. If you look at a side profile view of Fives, this would be more accurate because the grey of his printed waist cape would connect to his boots and form a continuous colour down the back and sides of his legs. I'd love to also print those blue stripes onto his shins, but LEGO refused to print in that area for some reason, so that just wouldn't happen. Looking at this reference, I actually think I'd do the same thing with his arms, where to make the base plastic a dark bluish grey too, with the white details printed onto it, which I don't even think would be asking for too much because they've already given him arm printing, so it would be barely any extra effort to make this change. For Saw Gerrera, you could go super over the top production wise on him and throw some arm printing in there, alongside one dual molded silver leg for his prosthetic, similar to how they did C-3PO, but I don't actually think those are necessary. Like, I think those areas look fine as they are. I would add some toe printing though, just to get that detail across that he's wearing sandals on his left foot, which definitely feels like something that should have been included. The overall colour of the figure was a point of contention in the community, with the dark green colour being considered maybe too vibrant for the character, even though, again, I like the colour they went with, especially compared to his appearance in Rebels. I will say that they probably should have used a sand blue base colour instead, which I think is more accurate to his appearance in Rogue One and Fallen Order especially. For Cal Kestis, I think pretty much everything they did with him is perfect, but I think he's missing a few details to really complete the character. Firstly, considering young Leia had Lola as an accessory, I think it's a no-brainer that he should have come with BD-1, especially since there already exists a minifigure scale molded BD-1. Like, there's kinda no excuse to not have done that. He also definitely should have come with a poncho, because that's just such an iconic design element from the game. You maybe could have included a few more details with some arm printing, but it's absolutely not a necessity, and I think BD-1 and a poncho would have more than sufficed. The only figure from this lineup that I'm not either gonna fix or replace is QTKT. I'll leave a link in the description for those curious about the backstory, but needless to say, she is probably a more important and I guess a more meaningful inclusion than something like fucking Boss Nass. As for the remaining 6 figures, young Princess Leia is a pretty boring figure with a generic enough face print, a simple torso print, and that's basically it. She's not immediately recognizable as a figure, and the Lola bot is way oversized. Like, it should have been printed on a circular 1x1 tile, not a 2x2 one. But my biggest problem with her is that I just don't think this character should have been prioritized over anybody, just because there's just a million more interesting characters they could have included instead. So I'm just going to remove her from the lineup altogether and bring in my first replacement figure of the bunch. My original idea was a modern recreation of Starkiller from The Force Unleashed, seeing as though they will never make a set based off that game again, and I kind of think it needs updating, but that character already existing as a minifigure kind of breaks the spirit of the anniversary, so my next choice would be Kyle Katarn from these old Star Wars games. I think he'd be a super cool, fairly niche choice to appeal to the die-hard Star Wars fans, which is all you need from these bonus figures really, and LEGO will almost definitely never touch this character otherwise. Honestly, I feel like even casual fans would prefer him to young Leia anyway. Like, it's not hard to find someone more exciting here. I'd also dump the Darth Maul anniversary figure that came in the visual dictionary. This is a figure that should have been in the 20th anniversary wave 5 years ago, with all the other classic characters re-released with back printing, and he just absolutely does not suit the vibe here at all. So what I'd do here is replace Maul with who I believe to be the single best minifigure they could have put out as part of this anniversary, which is Kino Loy from Andor. There's so many reasons why I think this would have been perfect. First things first, Kino is easily one of of the best characters in all of Star Wars and probably has the most powerful story of anyone in the franchise's history, so he 100% deserves a figure. And in the spirit of this whole anniversary idea, this is one character that I think LEGO will never get the chance to make again. Even if they decide to make more sets based off Andor, which is a really big if, they would 100% do some based off the Aldani arc with that group of characters, or a Fondor Hallcraft, or most likely something based off Season 2 even. The prison arc would be so far down their priorities list, and even if they did get that far, it's a setting that would be extremely hard to make a set out of. Kino also probably isn't going to show up in Season 2 either, so it's not like they could just plonk him in a set unrelated to the prison, meaning Kino pretty much has to be a promotional figure like this. And it just felt like this was the perfect opportunity to have made him, so that's what I would have done here. Looking at the Desert Skiff and Sarlacc pit set, finding a more exciting choice than Nine Num is unfathomably easy. Like, I don't care about this dude at all, to be honest. It's cool that he has a new head mold, and I've seen people use his torso to make a Rebel Friend minifigure, but I just don't see any reason why he needed to be an anniversary figure. Like, you could have easily thrown him in a 10-4 playset or something and nobody would question it. Bearing that in mind, I personally would have replaced him with Crosshair in his original Bad Batch armor. I think a lot of people were disappointed he only came in his Imperial outfit in the Bad Batch Attack Shuttle set, and there's no chance LEGO go back and revisit that original arc from the Clone Wars, so this feels like the last chance they had, really. I chose to put him in this set specifically because Boba Fett was also in this set, meaning it already came with that bag of helmet accessories for Crosshair to have his rangefinder. I really just want an official Bad Batch Crosshair, and this kind of felt like a good chance to get him. The first extra minifigure I would include would be in the C-3PO set, which I figured made sense since they included Darth Malak in the R2-D2 set, which is built to the same style as this one. And for this set, I would have included the one and only Dexter Jetster from Attack of the Clones. Again, similar logic to the other ones, I just can't see any other occasion where LEGO would include this character in a regular set. Episode 2 sets are already pretty rare to come by these days, so it's extremely wishful thinking that they'd bring out a Dexter's Diner anytime soon. I really don't think this character needs any more justification, to be honest. Like, who wouldn't want him? He's the GOAT. Similarly, the buildable Droideka would be the next set I'd include an extra anniversary figure in, and for this one, I originally picked Wat Tambor. For too long, the Techno Union has gone unrepresented in LEGO form, and I think it's high time that changed. But admittedly, maybe including him and Dexter would be going a little bit too hard on the episode 2 side characters for the sake of this anniversary, and so for that reason, I went with Ezra from the latter half of Rebels. I think the logic behind these picks are clear at this point, so I don't really need to explain the Ezra pick. He's just another interesting version of a character LEGO never got the chance to make until the ship had sailed on his relevancy. And for the final anniversary figure in my lineup, which I'll throw into the Clone Trooper and Baldroid Battle Pack, he is probably the most niche character of this video, with only 5 minutes of total screen time in a movie about 41 people have seen, as well as 6 glorious seconds in the Clone Wars Season 7, but I went with Dryden Voss from Solo: A Star Wars Story. Now, I actually like Solo. I'll defend it until the day I die or decide to rewatch it. And I always thought it was a shame we never got an official figure of this guy. Like, he was pretty unique and engaging as villains go. So yeah, with the same logic as everyone else, I would have included him too. Intentionally in the cheapest set of the bunch though, because sadly I don't think Solo was popular enough for this guy to move units, to be honest. And that's everything. If I were in charge of the LEGO Star Wars 25th anniversary figures, this is what I would have done. If you disagree with anyone, or maybe you have a different suggestion, then I'd love to hear it. Thanks for watching, and farewell.